What's up? It's Elijah Campbell from 107.5 The Game after a long afternoon here at Bon Secours Wellness Arena. Time to break down what happened in South Carolina's win over Vanderbilt. You look at the final score where South Carolina wins well above double figures, but it doesn't necessarily tell the story of the game. So Vanderbilt got down to South Carolina pretty early. It was a pretty tight game until about late in the first quarter. Mylasia Fulwiley makes an incredible steal and pull-up three at the buzzer to give them a double-digit lead. They extend that double-digit lead with a 37-10 run that ended the first half and played lockdown defense on Vanderbilt, holding Michaela Blakes to only 6 first-half points. Extended that lead to about as much as 20. I think it's actually about 22 might have been the largest lead. But Vanderbilt came roaring back, got a lot of stops defensively. Michaela Blakes came alive in half number 2 and scored a majority of her points there, and then ultimately cuts that South Carolina lead down to 5 about midway through the fourth quarter. And then South Carolina needed somebody to step up. That came in the form of one Chloe Kitts. As today I called her closing time Chloe because she scored a ton of buckets when this team really needed it the most. Ended up with a career high 25 points to go along with 10 rebounds. And when the team needed it most, she was able to pull through. And look, the offense went through some stalls today. The starting 5 had a hard time generating a lot of buckets, and Vanderbilt was aggressive defensively. They oftentimes sent 2 to the ball, a lot of blitzing ball screens, a lot of getting the ball out of the hands of the South Carolina guards. Vanderbilt's defensive game plan was clear. If you're going to go inside and you want to beat us in the post, we're going to make life really hard for you to do that and make all the passing lanes more difficult than normal to get into the post. I think that made a really big difference when it came to South Carolina trying to establish an offense early on. But once they made some adjustments, started setting screens closer to the three-point line, the slips were a little more available. And once the ball got past those double teams, Joyce Edwards is able to pick off, be able to pick off that defense on 3-on-2 situations. Joyce played a good game, even though she didn't shoot very well, but really the two biggest takeaways are Chloe being able to close the game out, because look, whenever Vanderbilt came roaring back and cut it to 5, the energy felt eerie. It kind of felt like what the Tennessee game felt like last year here in Greenville whenever South Carolina got up big at halftime. Tennessee came roaring back with the help of one player. In that instance, it was Rakia Jackson, making it a close game. And then Tennessee took a lead, and it required, a Camila Cardoso banked 3 to escape that game. We didn't need the theatrics in this game because Chloe Kitts took over before it got to that point. Her ability to score down the stretch, I think she scored about 3 or 4 straight buckets in the fourth quarter to really create a little bit of a cushion, enough to be able to expand the lead later on when Mylasia Fulwiley made some really good plays, including behind the back pass late in the game to really help seal it. Behind the back pass that I believe went to Joyce. Joyce scored a bucket, sealed the game. South Carolina won comfortably on the final score, but not so comfortably in terms of how we got there. So surviving a late Vanderbilt push, being able to pull a game out when it started getting a little hairy, and not letting the comeback kind of deter how this team looked. Now tomorrow it's going to be interesting. 4:30 tip against an Oklahoma team who came off of an impressive win against Kentucky. Mind you, an Oklahoma team that shoots really well from 3, plays very up-tempo, won a game today against Kentucky, shooting 30% from the field. That is incredibly difficult to do. Now, this Oklahoma team will be playing their 3rd game in 3 straight days, which is very difficult for anybody. What I look for tomorrow is for South Carolina to push the tempo. Even though that's what Oklahoma loves to do, their legs aren't going to be 100%. Again, 3 games in 3 days. And for a team that already plays up-tempo basketball, maybe you can catch them worn out. Maybe you can win the war of attrition if Oklahoma keeps it close for a half. Maybe South Carolina's bench, which is the best in the country, can be the difference maker late. They won by 40 plus when they played Oklahoma back at Colonial Life Arena in January. It's not going to be a 40-point game. It's a really good Oklahoma team that's playing their best basketball right now. But 3 games in 3 days, awfully hard to overcome. I still like South Carolina in that matchup, but I think we should be on hand for a pretty solid game. Really need that starting 5 for South Carolina to be able to find their rhythm offensively, because in this game they stalled out way too much. It was close in the first half. and Vanderbilt led 13-11 early on. Then Dawn makes the sub, brings in Mylasia Fulwiley, brings in Joyce Edwards. The lead expands. You start the second half with your starting five, and Vanderbilt goes on a 9-0 run to start the second half in the third quarter, and then the bench kind of had to bail them out a little bit, and that's when we saw ultimately end up seeing the lead get cut to 5. I'm really looking forward to seeing how this starting 5 group responds to the struggles against Vanderbilt, and if Oklahoma tries to be as aggressive defensively like Vanderbilt was, doing a lot of double teams, blitzing ball screens, to see if they kind of take the same defensive blueprint, because it worked for Vanderbilt for large stretches of this game. Again, South Carolina takes down Vanderbilt in the quarterfinal. Semifinal tomorrow, 4:30 tip, against the Oklahoma Sooners. You'll get my live report after that game. Thanks for tuning in, and I think we're in for a very fun SEC tournament here at Bon Secours Wellness Arena. See you tomorrow.